Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot7025fm.com.
It's your main man, 360 the Poet from the Morning Wood. And are you looking for the perfect drink? Well, you found it. Mimosa Royale is the perfect combination of California sparkling white wine and natural juice that is both tasty and refreshing. No artificial colors or flavors, no sugar added, and it's gluten-free. As the world's first ready-to-drink mimosa, Mimosa Royale is perfect for any occasion, day or night. You no longer have to drink 12 of those seltzers just to get that perfect buzz. At 8% alcohol, Mimosa Royale is the perfect drink to party with. Offered in a variety of flavors and sizes, you are bound to find a Mimosa Royale that you'll love. We have berry, mango, apple, and orange, with more flavors to come. Mimosa Royale is the most award-winning flavored wine that serves in bottles or cans. You can find them online at drinkmimosa.com or find them at your local liquor store. Ask for it by name. Mimosa Royale.
Hi. Hey.
What's up? All your favorite artists.
Check it out.
Say my name.
DJ Khaled.
This is Mila J.
Bruno Mars.
On hot7025fm.com.
E-Class Consulting. It's owned and operated by Carrice, providing tools, training, and resources that are sure to make you and your business even more successful. We are staffed with a marketing, credit, tax, and a real estate consultant. E-Class Consulting also provides a temporary admin service called E-Class Admins. Want to book an appointment with E-Class Consulting? Call 702-518-3002 or email book@eclassconsulting.com. E-Class Consulting, navigating you to greatness. All right. You guys are tuned in right now to Hotlyte right here on hot7025fm.com. I am Carrice. And listen, today I got a friend in, okay? And he's definitely been here quite a few times. And we got a deep dive, okay? We definitely have talked about some things before. We talked about some credit before. We've talked about, past lives that we have had together. And I'm trying to dig into the tea because I'm trying to find out what's really going on out here. And I have Mr. Will Roundtree in the building. How you feeling?
I'm blessed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. You look like a bag of money. What's going on? What's really good?
Hey, this is just my costume.
It's your costume? Yeah. Listen. Speaking of costumes, since you brought that up, so let's talk about a couple of things. You are Will Roundtree.
Yes.
How you feel about that?
Being Will Roundtree?
Yeah. Today, like today is what? April 23rd, 2025. How do you feel today about being Will Roundtree?
I mean, that's actually a deep question.
Mm-hmm.
I feel good because per the standard of what I was told growing up,
mm-hmm.
I'm not supposed to be here.
Mm. So
I'm always grateful.
Okay.
Of my journey, the ups, the downs, the wins, the losses. And as of today, I mean, I've been Will Roundtree 45 years so far.
Oh man.
So, I mean, no, I'm extremely grateful.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So what does that mean? So what would that have meant 20 years ago? 20 years ago being Will Roundtree and 20 years ago today. What's the difference between those two people? Because I think that I was actually just having this conversation before you even came in. Right. That like I feel like every single day I'm a different person. So every day my husband has a win, right? Every day he gets a new wife that has more growth, and it's just you're a different person. So I would imagine there's like a sense of evolution from then until now. What does that look like for you? How do you feel about that?
I mean, 20 years ago I was still looking for who was Will Roundtree, because 20 years ago I was so focused on trying to be what everybody else wanted me to be. Mm-hmm. And I had to learn to be me. And I think that's really the hardest thing for so many people, and just the fact that I work with people for a living, I see anytime that there's a trend, whatever's trending mm-hmm. in culture, that's usually who people are morphing into.
Do you feel like you've had that? Do you feel like that you have essentially went to being someone that you thought was, what the culture needed at that point? Was there any time where you may have mimicked that person?
Maybe in my earlier years, but mm-hmm. now absolutely not.
No,
because one thing that I had to learn is that mimicking someone, you never find your authentic self. They have this whole thing, fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. But that's when you end up being fake. Mm. So where I'm at in my journey now, the 20 years progressed from the 20 years previously. Mm-hmm. I've done a good job at being myself, and I think that's why I've been able to be here 20 years later. I mean, I've been in entrepreneurship for 20 years. Mm-hmm. I've been in business on paper for 10 plus years. Matter of fact, April, this is my 10th year anniversary of my parent company. And I mean, so I could say that you don't get far in doing anything trying to be, a bunch of other people. Mm-hmm. You have to be who you are.
Right.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I think that a lot of times people, they take on this person, like they'll see something, especially with social media now, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. You see these people on social media, and then you see 10 people who are trying to be just like that person. And I think that some of those things can replicate themselves, even if you're not paying attention to that person, right, just because it's just trendy. Right. There are certain things that are trendy. I see you do your reels, and you hopping out the car, and you doing that. For you, what does that mean for you? Because I think there might be some misconceptions of what that is for you to hop out the vehicle and say, "Hey, listen, we got this going on," like versus saying I'm flexing on y'all.
Right. No, unfortunately that's the part of the costume, because people, if people don't think that you're winning, they won't deal with you in business, especially in the Black community. And so it's a part of the routine. You know, I at one point, you know, and I actually struggle with that sometimes, because I mean, it's a lot I don't show, you know, and if you go and actually look at a lot of my content, I never talk about money. I never talk about how much money I've necessarily made. I might talk about, like, you know, I've amassed, you know, a certain amount of, you know, whether it's my real estate portfolio or the milestones I hit in business. But, you know, I don't necessarily show things that will say, hey, look at me. You know, my thing is
Are you sure about that?
No, I'm for real.
I think that you may have that perception of yourself, right? But as an average person, if I didn't know you, right, and I'm watching the video and I see this dude, he got the fresh cut all the time, right? got the chain on.
I used to be a barber.
Got the chain on, okay. You know, got the fancy watch, the Gucci, the whatever.
No.
Okay,
let's go. Let's go.
I think we have to have a real conversation.
I'm
right?
with it.
So
I'm completely
so
with
we
it.
have this. I don't know you, stranger danger, right? So I'm just watching you, and I see this. So would I not have a perception about who you are trying to be, or if you're flexing or something like that? Like, is that not a normal reaction?
No,
for
I
some?
think it's definitely normal, because people are always going to have a perception based upon their experiences of their life. And so the thing that I had to learn is that I'm never focused on what somebody else thinks about me, because however they feel about me, they have that right to do that. And you can't change someone's perception of you. They can only experience you for them to be able to have that change themselves.
Right.
And so there could be circumstances, like, for example, if somebody came to me and said, oh, I don't like this person, I'm not going to take on that persona, because I don't know what their exchange was or their perception of each other is. But
we know that's not how the real world works, right?
We know for most people, absolutely not. But
I'm not going to tell you, this dude's trash and this.
But
and
I'll
that.
tell you why it's different from me, though, because the personal development I've been through. You know, most people, for example, one of the things I've learned, like, I have relatives who will not speak to me today.
Why?
Because they owe me money.
When we say money, okay. Because let's talk about it, because family members be owing you money for real, okay? And instead of just trying to rectify the situation, they'll try to avoid you for whatever reason. We talking $200. We talking about $2,000. We're talking about $200,000.
I can tell you, I've loaned out up to $50,000 to people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens?
And get it back.
And then so who ended the communication, you or them?
I think it was mutual, because see, I'm not gonna chase you. You know you owe me, and so I'm not. Here's what I had to come to grips with, and it's actually something I said one day, is that somebody asked me, Will, when did you know that you kind of made it? And it was when I can loan money to people and it doesn't hurt me. Not even losing that communication with that person. Right. You know, if it costs me $1,000, $2,000, $4,000 for me to lose somebody who is probably going to burn me anyway, I'm willing to do that early.
So at this point, do you know who that person is before you loan the money? Like, because I think we have our own discernment, right? We know this person. So do we say at that point, I'm going to give you this, and in the event that everything works well, you're welcome to pay me back? Or are we still giving loans to family members? I don't give loans to family members. I'm just going to give it to you.
Well, it depends on the circumstance. Like, I have now, if I loan you money, you have to have collateral. So if you don't own anything, I would never give you $1. You know, I'll have you collateralize your car. I've had people collateralize their iPhones. They don't want to lose that. Absolutely. So I'll only put up money for as a collateral stake. Now, the reason I stopped lending money to people is because I see how they're living. If you're showing me that you're doing okay before you ask me for this money, go. And on top of that, if I'm the very last person you've asked to borrow money, you clearly have burned other people. You know what I'm saying? And so those are some of the things that I've looked at. And on top of that, yeah, I've also gotten to the point, if I'm going to give it to you, I'm going to just give it to you. You know what I'm saying? So I have different categories or different scenarios or situations, but for the most part, I have a no borrowing money rule.
Well, in one of the famous words of one of our old coworkers, let me hold some, Will, because I don't know. The loaning thing, I just think that it just gets to a point where you're like, listen, I'm gonna give this to you to invest in you. I'm not giving you.
Well, I don't even invest in people's businesses no more.
Why?
Because I don't know their work ethic.
What if you do? What if I say, you know what, Will, today I need to buy something.
You personally?
Yeah.
For you, possibly.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think you know who. That's what I'm saying. We have our own discernment.
Let me put it this way. I don't invest in startups.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't invest in startups. They rarely make it. And there's the further away I am from my money, the less control I have. If I loan someone who is starting a business some money, I can't control the outcome or the result of that business failing or succeeding unless they're going to bring me on and I have some form of ownership. Right. Because most of us,
which I think is important.
It's extremely important. Because most people who are starting a business, they're first generation entrepreneurs, and the success rate is very low. One, because they don't even understand business. They're just passionate about what it is that they do. And the first sign of it not working out, they usually quit. And the prime example, I had a gentleman who I loaned $3,500 to. He wanted to start a car detail business. This was probably 2.5, 3 years ago. Been knowing him forever. My son and his daughter grew up together. So I sent him the money. We did a contract. 3 weeks later, I don't hear from him. I go on social media. I'm blocked.
Not I'm blocked.
And so then I call his mother. I'm asking him, like, man, like, what's going on? Because I even had clients for him. And he's like, man, I'll just get your money back whenever it didn't go well. And I'm like, why are you heated at me? I'm actually trying to help you promote the business, even though I've put the bulk of the money into it and whatnot. And so after that experience, and I've had a lot of experiences because I've invested in a lot of things just over my 10 years in this, being on this journey. I don't invest in startups because that's a common occurrence. And I even see that with clients who I work with. They have one infraction, they want to quit. They get one no, they want to quit. They have one bad day, they want to quit. And I'm like, yo, if you only knew what I had to go through to get to where I'm at.
Do you think that comes from a place of like, I think that, I think it's important for us to go back into things that we did as employment, right, together, that even got us to this space where we are friends and we can do business together. We were on a grind. Like, it was either you're going to do this, you're going to go out and sell this, or you're not. Right. Like, so I think I remember, you making a series of phone calls just to, make sure that you hit quota or right, exceeded it or whatever that was. But people don't do that. A lot of people have jobs where they tell them what to do, and then they do exactly what they told them to do. And that's it. Yeah. So I think that you have to have experience in like really going out and getting it. Well, like, and if you don't, and a lot of different aspects too. Right. I tell people, so essentially my first job was, I was a Girl Scout. I have never tasted a Girl Scout cookie in my life. I won bikes. Listen, I sold the hell out of some Girl Scout cookies. I won bikes. I won trips. I won all types of stuff. To this day, I've never tasted a Girl Scout cookie.
They're not the same. You're not missing nothing.
But what I'm saying is that I was going to sell them, right, but I didn't really need to taste the product. But it was right, it was a good way for me to learn how to do sales when I was 5.
Correct.
So I think that, starting off certain things will help you. And then you have people or parents or grandparents around you who are also go-getters. That's helpful. But if you don't, then you're in a situation where you're going to quit.
Well, I tell people I had an unfair advantage as an entrepreneur because my journey started doing personal development for over 5 years. And so personal development, I think, is one of the most underutilized, disciplines that a lot of people never get an opportunity to do. I think that often, and this is just my experience from working with a lot of entrepreneurs, they try to go and change who they are becoming. Once they get into business and the business doesn't go right, now they're trying to start from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, and I even talked about this in my book, Full-Time CEO, you have to work on becoming at the front part of that journey, because you're going to have to know how to deal with things that nobody has taught you how to deal with. Nobody's taught us critical thinking. Nobody's taught us how to deal with no's. Nobody's taught us how to sacrifice. I tell people, I didn't take a trip for almost 9 years. I didn't have a television for 6 years. One, because I couldn't afford cable. But there was so many sacrifices.
I still don't have cable.
I don't either.
Can't do it.
There were so many
sacrifices paying for it.
that I was willing to do, even from a standpoint of my expenses as an entrepreneur were always extremely low. My living expenses, but now, the average person who wants to become an entrepreneur, start a business, they can't afford to pay for the implementation to grow the business. They might be able to start it, but they can't, because their living expenses is so high and they're living at the tilt to where one infraction, they're done. Mm-hmm. And these are the things that nobody ever discusses or think about or talks about. It's just, hey, chase your dream, fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. And we come up with all of these cliches and wonder why it's a 90% failure rate in businesses.
Right. And I think that a lot of times, like, seeing other people at the end, like I wouldn't even say the end, I say seeing other people towards the high end of their journey, people looking at them and they're like, oh, okay, this dude, he made it. Like, he's good. So I can go in at this level and do it this way. And you're right. They're not starting from the beginning. Yeah. They're trying to get to your end.
They're trying to start where you start.
Right. Where you are today, right. Not necessarily where you start. And I think that's a challenge.
And that's also a challenge too, when you bring people into your business. Mm-hmm. They don't know the 15-year grind that I had prior to getting to a point where I was able to pay my bills mm-hmm. from my business. Mm-hmm. And when you bring somebody into your business, they want to be where you are at that moment. Mm-hmm. And that's very difficult for people, but that's why that personal development is so important. And these are the things that is not taught in business. And that's one of the reasons I said that I started in network marketing in 2003. Although I didn't make a lot of money, that was the best, experience I could have gone through, because it taught me everything, all of the intangibles about business. And we used to have training on leadership, training on sales, training on, how to present, all of these things that I never thought in a million years I would have needed today. Mm-hmm. And what's so interesting is like, I still have my very first journal from 2004. And I post the notes from that journal often on my social media, and everything in that journal I actually use to this day, because the concepts and principles don't change.
Right.
And so that's the step that I think that most people skip. Everybody just want to get to, they want to have the station. They want to have the bright lights.
But they don't know what it took to get.
They don't know what it took.
That part. Yeah. And I think, I tell people often, I tell them, don't quit. Like, there's going to be times where it's a difficult situation, or you have to figure out something. I don't even call myself an entrepreneur at this point, a CEO, a president, any of that. I am a professional troubleshooter. Okay. Because that's what I do.
Say I was a professional failure.
Oh, man.
Like, a lot of people don't know my first major investment. So let's back up. Mm-hmm. Okay. So how you and I actually started working together in corporate America, I was at a previous company. I sold internet advertising, mm-hmm. was there for like 7-8 years. Took all my money out my 401k and I invested in a tax business. Mm-hmm. Quit that job.
Do you know I found one of those flyers the other day?
Just
randomly. Yeah.
Yeah, they still out there, I guess.
I know. I think I had some that you gave me. They're like white with blue writing or whatever. Yeah,
probably so. Mm-hmm. And so took all my money, invested into that, and the business went horribly bad. Mm-hmm. Found out that the guy was actually running a Ponzi scheme. And right now he's actually serving time in federal prison. The FBI went after him, the whole nine. But because once that happened, and when I called him out and found out that everything that he was showing all of the franchise owners was not above board, he closed me out of my franchise and then sued me for a breach of contract. And so when you're fighting a lawsuit, you have to defend it. And it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about whose story is gonna win. And so I had to defend myself. So here I am. I had liquidated all my savings, liquidated my 401k. I quit my 9 to 5. I got a mortgage, bills, everything. And I lost everything. And, and I went to a state of depression for a little bit. But the one thing that got me out is I had to remember who I was. And so that personal development was like, Will, and you gotta get back on the bike. You failed multiple times anyway. And so I used the data from that failure to say, okay, my next business venture that I get into, I know where I made my mistakes at. And I tell people all the time, my biggest mistake when I made that first investment was because I got into it solely for the money. I didn't learn business. I didn't learn accounting practices. Like I didn't learn all of the intangible things to actually run a business. Now, granted, the product was bad because I couldn't control it, but it taught me so much. And so I often tell people that failure is data. And every time that I, don't get the desired result in which I'm, striving for, I don't look at it as a failure. I'm looking at it, okay, how can I learn from that situation? What can I take from that? Why did it go wrong? Where did I miscalculate something? And I've never am pointing the blame at everybody else because I didn't have to do that investment. But I often tell people too, if that didn't go wrong, I wouldn't be here today. I would still be in that tax office trying to prepare tax returns, making money only 10 weeks out the year because tax season is only 10 weeks out the year. And I often tell people that you're capped in the tax industry as far as how you can grow and scale unless you're offering other services. But I wouldn't have learned that if I hadn't gone through, losing everything. And so sometimes I tell people you have to hit a point of rock bottom to figure out what it is to get you on that right path. Right.
And I think, like you said, I think you learn from certain situations. But the thing is that what happens is people go through a situation with their business and it's, maybe it's trauma for them. And then they don't evaluate their errors. And
no, they point blame.
Yeah, because I'm like, listen, most of the stuff that has gotten broken here at the radio station, I broke it. Right. Okay, like random expensive mics, like anything, I broke it, and I have to realize, okay, listen, I need to do this differently, or. Right. There's things that I learn every day, like, oh, okay, I did this particular situation this way, but also too, I'm not afraid to ask for help on some things, and I think that's some issues that small business owners
ask or pay for help. You'd be surprised how many people won't pay for delegation. Like the reason
because they think they can do it all.
Of course they do. And they don't want to pay. Right. I'm telling you, a lot of people do not like paying for help. It's that simple.
I agree. I agree. There's times I'm like, you know what? Let me figure out how to do this so that I don't have to pay for this. But I think that, learning early that the benefit of having other people, do certain things. I tell people I don't do everything well, just the stuff I do. Right. And the stuff that I don't do, somebody else who does it well can do that. And, that may come with a fee.
Yeah. Like my Google search bar is empty. Because I'm not trying to Google how to do everything. You know what I'm saying? I will pay, I'll pay for convenience. You know what I'm saying? And even when I wasn't at this point, that was something I had to learn early in my career, because I've worked with people and I can see them trying to learn how to do marketing ads, how to be their own accountant, how to do this. And now they're focused so much on all of the things that don't make them any money. They can't focus on making money. And so again, but these are the intangible things that we don't learn. We're just like, oh, I got to be great at everything. No, you don't. You just have to. You only got to be good at one thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what would you tell someone who is just starting out? They don't have a plethora of money or funds, and they need some tools. They need some delegation. They need some help, some resources. Like, what does that look like? You as a I typically call it a big business with a small amount of employees,
Right.
but how can they do delegation without the funds?
Well, first
or
thing,
with a minimal amount. What's
Right.
a good tool to get help with those things without spending an excessive amount of money?
well, the first thing is that they're gonna have to unlearn everything that they think they know about business. Because when a person starts a business, usually the advice that they have on how to run it is from people who've never owned a business. They mama, they daddy, they cousin, they auntie who owe them money. Like it's a combination of all of the information that come from people who don't own a business. So you're gonna have to unlearn all of that. Secondly, and I tell people this all the time, religiously and faithfully, go get your credit fixed. That's the lifeline to every business. And when I go and so I did I did some research of the top Fortune 500 companies. Most of them all started leveraging their credit, from Apple to PayPal to like you name it,
and a couple of dollars from their parents. Let's not leave that out.
It was definitely some nepotism, but at the same,
and I'm here for nepotism. Shout
but
out
at,
to LeBron
I'm
James
here.
and Bronny.
I'm here for it too. But at the same time, if I can go to the bank and get $100,000 to put into the facilities of my business, why wouldn't I do that?
I think that having credit, being able to leverage credit,
It gives
all
you
of
an
that,
unfair advantage.
It does. But I think that like you said, there's a lot of things that we have to unlearn, because we have our older generation was at the what are they, the baby boomers? They want to use cash. They like, you know what? We don't want a credit card.
And I'm gonna keep it 100. Where are most of them at financially?
Right. But I mean, these are the people you trust, you love.
I get that. I don't take advice from my mother,
right,
when it comes to business.
At this point,
I didn't early on.
I think that we're special people, right? I think that we're. But let's talk about the regular people, right?
But this is why people like yourself and myself are needed in these rooms, because, and that's why I say, you're going to have to unlearn everything that you think you know. And unfortunately, the more educated the person is, the harder it is for them to unlearn all of that.
And I think that it's important. I mean, because I did go to college for entrepreneurial administration. I did go to college to be a CEO.
Right.
I did have, grandparents and parents who own businesses. My father just retired his business last year.
Right.
So, I did have, those examples, but I did have to go back and, unlearn certain things with all of those, aspects together, because some of the things that I learned in college, they're no longer applicable, because we are in a different age, time, economic, space. There's social media, there's access to things online. I'm not saying I'm an old lady, but I'm just saying things are different.
Right.
So, you had to, you do have to adjust.
You have to. And that is so hard for a lot of people. And I see it. Like I have clients who are in their 40s and 50s who want to work with me. They barely know how to use the computer. So could you imagine them saying, hey, Will, can you help me grow my business? And so now I'm at a point, in as harsh as this may sound, I pre-qualify people who I work with one-on-one.
As you should.
As I should, because for one,
I do interviews before I do.
Yeah, because here's the thing. When a person is investing, like let's say they come to you for consulting, your life is in their hands. And if they don't make it, guess who they're blaming? They're blaming you.
Right, even though they didn't utilize the tools and resources that I provided to them to help them.
But here's the second leg to that though, Carrice. The reason I interview people, you have to be liquid a certain amount or have enough capital to work with me, because one, most people can't afford the implementation it takes to get to where they really want to be. Mm-hmm. A person see you and your business and all of they don't know how much this costs. Mm-hmm. But they're saying, hey, I want a studio. Mm-hmm. I want the top of the line mics.
You better say it.
I want the flat screens, and I want all of that. I want a whole building. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But they don't know what your overhead is.
And
they don't know
closed.
What your monthly expenses is.
Mm-hmm.
And so if a person comes to me and say, hey, Will, I'm trying to make X amount of dollars and do this or have a certain real estate portfolio, and I'm like, all right, how much you got? And they're like, man, this is my last 10,000. I will never take that person's money. Mm-hmm. I won't work with them because they can't afford to pay for the implementation it takes. And I tell people, success is like a flight of stairs. The success is like a flight of stairs, and each stair is a problem. You have to pay to find the solution for each stair until you get to the top. Mm-hmm. And most people, they get into celebratory mode because they overcame step one. I got my LLC. Mm-hmm. We made it. All right. I signed a lease for an office. Right. We made it.
There's 30 more stairs after
it's
that.
It's still 30 more stairs. You don't even know how to get a client. And you done already signed a 3-year lease on a building. You done bought all of this marketing collateral. You done told the world all of it. You done went and bought the starter car to show that you're a business, and you don't even know how to go get a client yet. Mm. That's another stair, because guess what? Marketing costs.
Right.
It may cost you $5,000 a month just to pay for marketing. And so I have to be very careful when I'm working with clients, but that's why I have different tiers of entry points on how they can work with me, from my online community to my YouTube and this and that. And the thing that I learned is that sometimes people, they just want to, they invest just to be near you. It's not even really to learn from mm-hmm. you. And so, and you got to learn how to find that separation and that discernment of being careful with that. So I don't take money from everybody.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think you should. I think everyone's not your client.
Plus, I don't need to. That's why I built a real estate portfolio.
Say it louder.
I don't need to. But that's why I built that's why I invested into real estate. Mm-hmm. You know,
and since it's financial awareness month,
definitely.
Let's talk about real estate. I think I bought my first home. I was 19 years old. Shout out to my sugar daddy. And I think it's important, and then too, I was working at Verizon, and I was 19. I was making like $86,000 a year. I don't even know how. I was still in college. Right. Shout out to Verizon for paying well. Definitely. Okay. But I think that now, it's taking a little bit longer. I think the way that, corporations are set up, they're not paying, the same. People are not understanding credit and understanding real estate. My grandparents, my parents, they had real estate. So, maybe I had a leg up because they knew this is the process. This is what you'll need to do. This is how much you need to put aside, so on and so forth. But I don't know that we have. I don't know that our parents, and I will say other people's parents, had that type of access and training and education in order to share that with people. So now I'm assuming that you, because I see you on live, I see you, have your courses, I see you, do maybe conventions and things like that. How does someone access information from you in order to find out, okay, this is what I could do with real estate?
I mean, the first place they could start is just going to my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've literally had people come up to me at events that I've hosted and said, Will, I've built a $15 million real estate portfolio just listening to your YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. And so there's so much content and context just in my free content. But if someone wants a little bit more hand holding, mm-hmm. then that's an investment.
And I think you did a great job at, leaving out enough information for people to sign up. I need to learn that.
No, well, that's because you got to pay for the implementation.
Right. I think I've learned that in consulting and you know, helping people, you know, build their business from, you know, certain aspects, or, you know, consulting on other things, or their projects. Maybe they need to put together a concert, whatever that is. There's information that you have to leave out because that part is where the value lies for you.
I'll be honest. That's not even 100% the case.
Okay.
I'll tell you, most people really, they're paying for time. Mm-hmm. Meaning, you can literally learn everything you need to learn just from watching my YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. But if you want to condense the time of the result, that's why you hire a professional. Like, I can change my own car tire. Mm-hmm. I don't want to. I'm not. I'm not. I can change my own oil. I can do, but I'm not doing none of that because my time is worth more. Right. You know,
I don't even like to go to the grocery store.
I do not go to the grocery store.
Ordering Instacart.
I Instacart. I Uber Eats. I'm that guy. Yes, I go to restaurants frequently. I hired a house cleaner because my time is more valuable.
Right.
And so,
and I think that a lot of people don't understand that, like us having a housekeeper, or ordering, you know, groceries on Instacart or whatever.
It makes a big difference.
Like, I have auto stuff on from Amazon. It just comes to the house because, you know, that's when it's needed. I don't like going to the store. I'm like, I could spend that time doing something else. Look, I don't want to do that.
I don't know how people go up every aisle looking for 5 things.
Yeah.
I'll just
if it's something quick, I just need to run. Like, I'm passing it, I'm gonna need to run in there quick, but I would rather not. I'll order those 5 things.
A pack of batteries.
Listen.
And pay $17 for a $4 pack of batteries.
But I think that people don't understand that those things give you back time.
Because we haven't been taught that, Carrice. Mm-hmm. Like, here's something, and it's a very unpopular opinion, but that's why we're here.
Right.
Our parents' generation has failed us. They failed us.
Why?
Think about your grandparents, my grandfather, my grandparents. Most of them were entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. Most of our grandparents owned land. Mm-hmm. Most of our grandparents owned real estate. They had thriving businesses. And then guess why it's no longer around?
Why?
Our parents. They didn't want nothing to do with it. Most of our generation doesn't have that nepotism of that real estate portfolio being passed down because our parents sold it all. They sold Big Mama's and Pawpaw's houses for Cadillacs and furs and trips to Sizzler. Our parents' generation failed us miserably. And now we're having to start over from scratch because they didn't even pass down the lessons that our grandparents taught them about how to buy real estate, how to buy land, how to start a business. They pushed our generation to go to college. And now look what's going on today. 10 million people are about to be in default with the Department of Education.
Wage garnishments, all of that.
They said non-voluntary garnishments. They said that a couple days ago.
Yeah,
they're taking money out your tax returns, your paycheck, Social Security benefits, and so when I talk about these things, people used to say that I was just blowing smoke. And I tell people, name one thing I talked about over the past 10 years that hasn't come to fruition.
It all has.
Everything has.
So, and I think that, listen, I talk about politics. I talk about politics often, and because I think that it's important for us to have conversations that are uncomfortable or that we don't know about. We have a show here called The Chisholm Report, and it's hosted by Chris TJ, who is a political scientist from Southern University, who's also my sister. And we were raised in a house where we talked about politics all the time. Right. And I think not understanding what has happened in less than 100 days to this economy and to how it's going to impact you in the future, how it's going to impact you today, just like we're talking about. Not only was the student loan debt now, yours officially, even though we're in a deficit, they're going to be increasing credit card late fees, so in the event that you have been late in these past couple of years and you have, you're now paying, maybe you're paying the $30 you can every month to get caught up. They're doubling those fees, sometimes tripling those fees now. So those things are all going to be implemented at the same time.
Right.
So not only are you going to be late on your credit card payment, it's going to be increased. Now you're with the student loan situation, it's going to be increased.
Correct.
We in the hole, child. Like, what is?
Well, I have a theory to some of that.
Okay, let's hear it.
Some of this, people have to take accountability for the position they put themselves in financially, and I'll tell you what I mean. So I did a live last night where I talked about the new crack epidemic was lifestyle. And that lifestyle message got sold to people literally during the pandemic. There's very few people who I know, directly and indirectly, who they did not increase their lifestyle appearance throughout the pandemic. They increased their expenses, bought bigger cars, bigger houses, took more extravagant trips. I mean, Black people wasn't eating crab legs and lamb chops 10 years ago. I'd never seen so many lamb chops and crab leg stories on. Well, I did it.
Okay.
People, you grew up with money, so
Hey,
I forgot who I was. I'm talking to Miss Crab Leg. But,
I didn't have the my grandparents, my mama did.
But people increased their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Most people did.
Right. I agree with that.
The trips got more extravagant. People ain't never heard of Tulum 5 years ago. Like people, I'm talking about people who they barely had a place of residency, made more money than they've ever touched in their life.
Why do you think that was during the pandemic?
Why what?
Do you think that it happened? Do you think that it was because of the extra unemployment?
Why people increased their expenses?
Like how did that? You're saying that's more money that they ever made.
Of course.
And you're saying it could likely be because of like the extra amount.
People made more from unemployment than their jobs. People were borrowing from the government, whether it was PPP loans. People,
prison loans.
People went out and got absorbent amount of credit and was using it like it was income. Because remember, credit really is still a new phenomenon in the Black community. Probably is probably barely been talked about and made popular over the past 7 years. And so imagine this: you're getting $3,000 to $5,000 a month unemployment. You got a PPP. People were getting like $4,000 a month. They were getting PPP loans for $10,000, $20,000.
Should have closed it down.
And then,
closed it down.
And then hold on, I'm not even done. And then they went out and got credit for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $100,000. That was the most amount of money that the average person has ever touched in their life. And so now, once they touch that money, it wasn't real to them. So like you would go to the Louis Vuitton store in Crystals, and it's a 5-hour wait. You was going to the Louis Vuitton store.
I'm just trying to figure out how you know.
I had a personal shopper, so, but that's not the case.
Boy,
that's not
here we go.
But, everybody got to live like their favorite celebrity during that time, and now
then posted on social media, and then other people see it, so now they got to go do it. And so now this is what's happening. They're going back to how their life really used to be. They got an inflated a mirage of what they thought their life should look like, because that I deserve mentality kicks in when they're getting access to all of this, what they thought was discretionary money. And so the lifestyle became the new crack epidemic. And it was disgusting. I mean, it's still going on.
It's still, because people don't feel broke yet.
Do you think that you have not contributed to this?
Who?
You.
How?
Okay. Look, let me pull up. Let me pull up Mr. Roundtree here. And I'm not saying that you haven't contributed to it in a manner where it's not applicable to you in your real life. What I'm saying is that people see it, and that's what was happening. People see, okay, let's say ROUNDTREE popping out of the
to
Jeep,
that point,
the wagon.
I'm not responsible for that
I'm not
part.
saying you are, but what I'm saying.
But here's the part I do want to say.
What I'm saying is that do you think that you were a contributor to people trying to keep up with a lifestyle? It's a yes or no.
If they felt inspired by me,
we're not
driving
doing
a certain
politics.
vehicle, then that's the case. But here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's where I'll say I try to help people to pivot in understanding how I got the cars.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let me show you how credit is used to make you money, not used as income. Now, whether the lines got blurred for the average person, I can't control that part. But my messaging has never wavered. My messaging has always been the same. It's always been, hey, you get the credit and you go buy the property. And then I let the rental property from my buildings buy the cars and the watches and the trips. My message has always been the same there. And so but
I think, okay, so a lot of times, like, and maybe you're not like me, but sometimes I'll watch Instagram with no sound. Do you ever just scroll through Instagram?
See, I don't scroll. I scroll on TikTok.
Y'all listen, this interview over.
I'm not an Instagram person.
Okay.
I'll go on TikTok.
TikTok, whatever, right?
But, no, it's two completely different.
Is it?
TikTok is completely different.
I haven't really got it on the.
You get on TikTok, you'll never go back to Instagram.
Listen, my husband is a TikToker. He's the scroller.
So he's sending you TikToks all day long.
All day. Okay.
Most of us,
and not necessarily all
are.
day because he's busy too. But he'll send me quite a few TikToks throughout the day. So now I got to go over to TikTok, watch the damn video. But whether it's TikTok or Instagram, sometimes the volume's down, right? So I'm on here. I'm saying, okay, we'll see you. Will pop out the Jeep wagon. Okay. I see you with the, I see you over there shining. I see, all of those things. I'm seeing it. I'm not hearing anything. I'm only seeing this, and I think that and people, it's two things that can happen. People can see that and say, oh man, that's dope that he, is in that space. How can I be close to him to get to this level too? How can I invest and get into this? Or there's people's like, I'm about to show him up. I think that people think these ways for whatever reason.
It's all perception, absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. You know this. It used to be two people at my first cocktails and credit events back in 2015. You was one of them. You were the host.
Yeah.
So people
we definitely had more than two people.
All right, fine.
Because the pictures just showed up on my memory, and it was about 20. Don't do me.
Maybe 15 was your people and 2 was for me. But I gave everybody an opportunity to come on this journey with me. You saw me start from the bottom. Because when I came over to our last corporate place, going back to the story I shared, when I lost everything, that's why I had to go back to corporate America. So I had to rid my ego, because that's what's also going on right now. People don't want to go back to work right now.
And that was the ego part is where I'm like, people are looking at this and wanting to say, okay, man, I can updo him.
And I want them to, because I want to see everybody win.
Right.
One thing nobody could ever say about me is that I'm a hater, because I always give people the info. Hey, this is how you go do that. I want you to win.
Right. And I think that a lot of times, when you give out that information, like I'll have conversations with people and I'll say, hey, you know what? Yeah, this is how you do it. I'm not even gonna sell you this. This is just this is just how I can be helpful to you, because I think that you have something great going on, and you share the information, and then they use it, and it's like, oh, like you're proud of them, you're 100%. Proud of everybody for being great. I've never been a hater of any sort. I want everybody to win. I think we have that mutual, understanding of how we want the world to be. 100%. But I think everybody else doesn't.
Well, that goes back to personal development, though. You got to think about it. Most of us come from environments where hating is celebrated. Yeah. I don't like that, though. I don't like that girl. She thinks she all that. Da, 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 da. Like that's celebrated. Like we think about most of the things that's celebrated in the communities we come from is all destruction. We celebrate poverty. We celebrate hating. We celebrate not snitching. When somebody kills a lot, like we celebrate all of the we celebrate all of the things that destruction is tied to. And then just because they are a business owner doesn't mean that they're reformed. And that's why that personal development component is so important. You have to become a completely different individual, especially if you want it to last. And if if I show you 10 people who they've ascended in success and lost it, I can tell you exactly the reason why. And it's usually personal development.
Interesting. Before we go, because we definitely over time. So you were working with Jay Morrison at one point, and I heard you a few weeks ago. I was listening to one of your lives, and sometimes I just listen. Sometimes I don't even comment, but I'll just listen. And someone kept on asking you, did you do that with Jay Morrison? Do they do that all the time? First of all, do they always bring that up?
I get it a lot. I don't get it as much as I used to.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
So my question is that I remember when you first started working with Jay Morrison, I remember reading the paperwork that they sent you.
Right.
And so that happened, right? And I don't think that was a terrible thing to do, because I think that initially it seemed as though it was going to be something that was helpful for the community, something that was informative, so on and so forth. You build a program, cool. You can offer this to people. I get it. Like it seemed like a great idea. Then abruptly, you're not working with them. How was that transition for you, disassociating yourself for whatever reason? We can look up and see Jay Morrison got people leaving videos about him. They don't like him. They think he's a scammer, so on and so forth. Like what was that disassociation from that for you, and like how is that going now?
I mean, I'm not gonna say it has zero impact on my business, but I can say that when I made that decision to sever ties, and I have my own personal reasons why. See, here's the thing: a lot of people didn't realize I was doing business before I met Jay.
Right, and I think that what happened is that you were doing your business before
Right.
Jay, and I think that he definitely had a structure in place where it did catapult your people.
My
seeing
presence,
you
1,000%.
Yes,
And that's why I'll never like kick Jay and kick him while he's down, because for this whole information space, he's definitely a pioneer in our culture and community. Now, how everything played out for him, I mean, he could have did a lot of things better, but at the same time, like I'm not gonna go in on that man, because I'm focused on what it is that I have going on in my life. But at the same time, I'm grateful because he created a platform that now a lot of us have benefited from, and we are still eating if we chose to do the right thing with that torch being passed, And so, like, if I pass you a torch, and if my flame goes out, but yours is still burning, how could you get mad at the person who lighted your torch? You see what I'm saying? And so granted, like, we had our differences, but that's business. And I think, and this is something I want to share, I think when it comes to Black people, unfortunately, there's too much personal feelings in business. And when I deal with business, whether it's from my other ethnic communities, they can hate each other personally but still do business together. Why? Because the common goal is for them to win economically. And that's why so many of these other communities will continue to still thrive, but then you can go to their family wedding and it's 8 people there because they done disassociated from mama, daddy, pawpaw, grandpa, they uncles and aunts. But when it come time for group economics, they know that that's the common goal, because the thing is for that bloodline to live on, for those assets to keep paying down. And that's why they call their children heirs, and we call our kids, because we don't leave nothing behind, because we too busy in our feelings that, oh, Carrice, she didn't come to my birthday party.
And I ain't coming.
And I'm not coming. Because y'all going to ask to split the bill. I ain't splitting no bill.
Listen.
I got you want some. You want the real tea? We talking about splitting bills for birthday.
I was just having this conversation with my husband. We went to dinner, and he just paid the bill. And it's, but what happened was the check didn't go to him first, right. And somebody was picking out what was on. What are you doing, sir?
I don't go to dinner with large groups unless I orchestrate. I don't even do that. Unless I orchestrate it.
Listen to me.
I don't go.
The idea wasn't to anybody else to just pay. He was just going to pay the bill. Right. The check went to the other person. They want to pick out what's on. Just give me the bill, sir. Like, what?
I had ice.
You know what? I think a lot of times, and you know what? Maybe it's because of my friend group. It just was somebody paid the bill. You didn't even know who paid the bill. The bill just...
Look, when we used to go to lunch, did we ever argue who paid?
Not one time.
I'm like, all right, you getting tacos, E?
Or whatever. Or are we going out somewhere? Right. It's never a conversation. Y'all got to stop that. Just listen. Somebody just... Personal development.
Mm-hmm.
So how much is it going to cost some people? Because do I need to... What we need to sponsor some people with some personal development.
I mean, it's free.
I can watch all of your YouTube videos, right? But I need to know the deep dive, the tea. I need to know what's really going on and what's going to get me there quicker. I'll say quicker.
Well, here's the thing I tell people. So I interview everybody I work with because I need to know how far your hole is that you got to come up from. Most people don't come to you on the surface.
Right.
They're in debt. They're going through something personally, mentally. People are dealing with a lot of things that life has consumed them with. And so when I'm first working with somebody, first I'm their therapist. I have to help them to unpack all of the things and then instill the confidence. Try to
get in there.
I have to reinstill the confidence back in them. And then from there, we can start building and putting together your plan. And so every client that I work with one-on-one is like, I have to unpack, and sometimes that may take 90 days. So, I mean, yeah, it just varies.
Can I ask you one question about credit before we go?
1,000%.
So we had, there's a gentleman that came in, he has a credit company, and he's pretty popular. It seems like they're paying like a monthly fee for them to do some stuff every month or whatever. I don't know if anything ever gets done, based off of the way that he was explaining the process. And then I know someone who utilized his services. But explain to me like that concept of fixing your credit, because anything can happen, right? I've been in situations where it hit the fan. I needed to figure out some things. I needed to max out some things, and then I had to figure it out at that point. But come back to getting things repaired or whatever. But like, what's a real process of really getting it repaired? And would a monthly situation like that actually work, or do you think that it should all be individualized?
So the first thing we have to unpack is to understand that credit repair doesn't guarantee that it's going to get fixed, because at the end of the day, the person still owes the debt. And I think that's the thing that nobody ever thinks about. So if a person has a $75,000 repo, and somebody charges you $40 a month, or they charge you $1,500 to try to get it off, I mean, it's a crapshoot. People spend that on parlays a week,
a day,
and so we have to understand that
Lakers in 5.
per the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Like, you have the right to dispute anything that is negative, erroneous, or reporting with invalid information or inaccurate information. Okay. And so the only way something that 90% of people legitimately who they owe the debt, we know that. The only way that it can come off is that there has to be some form of infraction of how that information is being reported.
Got it.
And a person assumes, and this is one of the reasons why, like, I don't even promote credit as much anymore, because it's gotten to the point to where people, they will blatantly go out there and ruin their credit and come to you and think you're supposed to fix their life. And if it doesn't come off, they call you the scammer, even though they scammed Nissan, they scammed Capital One, they scammed Navy Federal. And 60% of people end up back in that situation.
Do you think that's an expectations thing based off of maybe how credit was handled in the past? Like maybe they were able to dispute something and it came right off?
I think some of it is the people who's promoting credit repair too.
Oh, okay.
Because if you go online, there are a lot of people say, hey, I guarantee you I can get this off in 15 days. Like, it's a lot of that out there too.
Can I tell you something? I had this credit repair guy hit me up in my DM, and he said he wanted to purchase some advertisement or whatever. Right. He does credit repair, he does some investing, he does all of this stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, we talked about whatever it was, sent him the link for the invoice. Do you know this dude told me that he was having some problems with his debit card?
You want to know what's so crazy, Carrice? And this is going to be unpopular. I know it's people who don't like me, but it's probably going to increase right now. Most of the people in those spaces are broke.
Yes.
they call me all the time asking for advice.
Ask me if the invoice got paid.
I know it didn't, because I get a lot of them who say, Will, can you coach me? And then when I send them the invoice, man, that's a lot. And I say, so you want me to teach you to be a millionaire for free? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing. And it's so disheartening, because then that's when that person is calling me, oh, Will is this and that and that. No. Do you know how much I invested to be where I am today?
Now, do you think that all these credit repair people, these real estate investors, do you think that has impacted your image in any way? And I would say that
it depends on the audience.
Okay.
It depends on the audience. And I say that because one of the things that I really try to do my best to do is like, I don't play in the same pool that a lot of them do. Mm-hmm. That's why you don't see me at a lot of the popular conferences and conventions. Mm-hmm. I don't attend them, because I'm not trying to appeal to the crowd of coolness, which is one of the reasons why I'm even shifting and working more with B2B clients. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm most of my clients now are businesses who they make a certain amount of money within their company, and they're looking for me to help come in and help them scale and grow by understanding, you know, business, finance, and different things of that nature, which is information that I've invested a lot to learn myself. And so when I send them an invoice that may be a sticker shock for somebody who's brand new in business, they not cussing me out. Because they understand that that's business. Right.
And I think that comes with picking your clients rather than having them pick you.
1,000%. Yeah.
and I think that all of that is important. Well, you know, I appreciate you spilling some tea with me today.
Absolutely.
And
only for you.
Only for me?
Yeah, it's not a lot of. I turn down a lot of interviews.
I don't care about who you turn down. I know you want to turn me down because we don't play like that. No, but seriously, I think that it's important to have like real conversations, right? You know, about business and about, you know, transitioning to who you are today from, you know, I mean, I first started the station, one room area, you know, and, you know, we definitely have had growth, and people's perception of that is different. And I think that it's important for us to talk about that with you as well. And then too, I think it's important to talk about that you need to charge people for stuff.
Oh, I don't have any shame in that.
Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah. And so do you have any, like, because I know you do certain classes. Yeah. Do you have that coming up? Like, how do people sign up to get all this
So, I mean, right now they can join my
information.
community for free for 7 days.
Okay.
They can go to my Instagram. The link is in the bio, or go to school.com, and that's
How you pull that off?
SKOOL.com
You
/
so fancy.
full-time CEO. And it's free for the first 7 days. After that, it's $49 a month. But I mean, I have courses in there that I was charging $15,000 for. So the amount of content that they get for $47 is very, it's very fruitful. Obviously, they can follow me on social media. As far as live appearances, I've stopped doing a lot of them because, I mean, I've probably spent upwards of about $500,000 in 4 years doing events where I financed it, and most of them were all free. And so, now my focus is shifting, like I say, more to B2B, because I have enough content out there online to where a person can at least build their foundation of what it is that they're looking to accomplish. And then if they want to go to the next level, that they can. So, I mean, but they can follow me across all social media platforms at Mr. Will Roundtree.
Got it. Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Can I say something before we wrap up?
Of course you can.
So I remember when you first came to me with the idea of you starting the station, and the fact that you actually went through with it, and to see where you are today, I just want to tell you I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
A lot of people didn't take my advice early.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I think that we were both in a situation where we were walking back and forth to each other's office, like, why will you still work here? Like, and I think that that's something that really sticks in my brain about, being at this last corporate gig and understanding that we weren't even supposed to be there
100%.
the whole time. And, I think that I tell people when it comes to consulting, I tell people, hey, listen, if they keep getting fired, they keep getting in situations where their job's not working out, you're probably not supposed to be there. So it's probably time for you to take a leap.
Well, jobs was never meant for long term.
It shouldn't be. But I just had this conversation the other day with someone, and they're like, well, somebody has to do the job. No, you can always hire someone to do that specific thing that you need help with. Any of these corporations can hire another business to do this specific thing. You don't always have to have an employee or worker, or you can turn that employee or worker into a business owner. But, everybody doesn't have that thought. Some people just want to go to work every day for somebody else. So
I pray for them.
And we will continue to do so.
Definitely.
Again, thank you for coming through. I really appreciate you. And I'm super proud of everything that you have going on. And I appreciate the knowledge that you provide to the people. And you consistent with it too. That's the part. You hella consistent. So shout out to Mr. Consistent Will Roundtree.
Thank you.
Don't forget to follow him on all social platforms at Mr.
Even TikTok.
Will.
I need you to come on over to this side, Carrice, to the TikTok.
I'm trying. You know what? I got interns that's doing TikTok, so hopefully they figure this out because I'm too old. I think I am older than you. It's the old lady in me. Okay, we'll figure it out.
I'm even acting on TikTok.
Let me find out you're on Tubi TikTok. Okay, let me find out. All right. Well, we'll check you out on TikTok too then. But thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate you. It's Hotlyte right here on Hot 702.